James Cleverly is the former Foreign Secretary. He's now the current Shadow Housing Secretary. He's one of the more media-savvy operators the Conservative Party has, and he's been around long enough to know how interviews work, what you can get away with, and how to deploy language precisely enough to mislead without technically lying. This week, he went on Sky News and did two things in a single interview. He rewrote the Conservatives' position on Iran, and he told you that drilling more oil in the North Sea would bring down your petrol prices. Both of these things are provably wrong, and neither of them were challenged. And I think that's worth a few minutes of your time just to go through properly. Because if this is what the Conservative alternative looks like, you deserve to know what you're actually being offered. Okay, so let's start with Iran, because this one requires a bit of recent history. When the US and Israel launched strikes on Iran, the Conservative Party had a position. It was not subtle. Kemi Badenoch said this at PMQs.
I would say to Labour MPs, we are in this war whether they like it or not.
Her Shadow Foreign Secretary said the US-Israeli strikes were absolutely right, and it was a position the Conservative Party supported. For 9 days across multiple appearances, the message was consistent. Join the war. Be more involved. Starmer is too slow, too weak, too dithering. Then the economic consequences started landing. Oil prices, petrol forecourts, the reality of what join the war actually costs started appearing in people's bank accounts, and suddenly the position changed. Kemi told the BBC that she had never said that she should join. I haven't said that we should go in with the United States. 9 days of joining the war, then I never said that. Now this week, James Cleverly goes on Sky News and he does try to do the clean-up operation. And here's how he describes what the Conservative position has always been.
Well, our position from the Conservative Party has been consistent on this, and Kemi's made it clear that what we should have done is allowed the US to use its assets that were on our bases. And this has been our position throughout.
Allow the US to use their assets on our bases. That's it. That's all they ever said. Consistent throughout. I want you to hold that clip in your mind. Now just listen to this one again.
I would say to Labour MPs, we are in this war whether they like it or not.
We are in this war whether you like it or not. Is not allow the US to use our assets in our bases. Those are not in the same sentence. They are not even in the same postcode. For once, Trevor Phillips actually spots this, and he pushes back. They say, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, Kemi didn't quite use those precise words though, did she? And watch what Cleverly does.
You say it's been clear. It wasn't entirely clear from your leader that, as you've been quite precise about it this morning, that the Americans should be enabled to use their own assets on our bases.
No,
that's what you just said.
And that's what
that's a word you just used.
Absolutely, and that's what Kemi has always said. Now,
to be honest, I don't think she used those words.
So Starmer and others have tried to redefine what Kemi said, but Kemi has said very clearly that we should have allowed our allies to use our bases. That is not the same as our equipment, our forces engaged in those initial strikes.
Starmer has tried to redefine what Kemi said. Starmer, not the fact that she stood at the dispatch box and said that we're in this war whether we like it or not. It's Starmer that's redefining it. This is the technique. When the evidence is against you, don't address the evidence. Find the person to blame for the evidence existing. Make it a political attack rather than a factual dispute. Most interviewers will follow you there because it's more interesting television than going back onto the transcript. The clips exist, I've just shown you one. The actual words were said. The Conservative Party spent 9 days demanding Britain be more involved in a war and then spent the following 2 weeks pretending they never said it. James Cleverly went onto Sky News and did exactly that, pretending out loud, and it went largely unchallenged. Now we get to the part where I find genuinely frustrating, because this one directly affects your wallet, and it keeps being said on television and radio without anybody stopping it. Later in the same interview, Cleverly was asked about the rising cost of petrol and whether the government should be planning for price shocks, and he says this.
What we are saying that we should open up those oil and gas fields in the North Sea. That enhances our resilience. Now, that's not instant, but that could have been done.
Open up the North Sea enhances our resilience. The strong implication, the thing that he wants you to hear, is that the more North Sea drilling means cheaper petrol and cheaper security for Britain. And I want to explain to you clearly and simply why that is just not true. And I want to do it without jargon, because this isn't complicated once someone explains what the actual mechanics are. When oil sits under the North Sea bed, it belongs to the Crown. The government then issues licenses to pay energy companies to extract it, and those companies pay taxes on the profits for the privilege. So far so good? Sounds like British oil, right? Here's what happens the moment it comes out of the ground. It belongs to the company that extracted it, Shell, BP, Equinor, whoever holds the license. And they are under absolutely no legal obligation whatsoever to sell it to the British buyers or at British prices. They sell it on the international commodity market at whatever the global price happens to be that day. Which means, and this is the part that should make you genuinely angry every time a politician say drill baby drill or drill our own oil, Britain could double its North Sea output tomorrow and your petrol would still cost exactly the same. Because the price isn't set in Aberdeen, it's set on a global market that British production is nowhere near large enough to influence. Don't take my word for it. Parliamentary research says, and I quote, additional North Sea oil production would have not a substantial effect on energy security because 83% of UK oil is exported. The government's own advisors have said that any increase in UK extraction of oil and gas would have, at most, a marginal effect on the prices faced by UK customers. Not a significant effect, not a moderate effect, a marginal effect at most. And here's the thing that they should really sting. The Conservative Party knows this. Claire Coutinho, their energy secretary at the time, said in 2023,
so even if the oil is from here, it would have to go abroad to be processed because overall refinery capacity in the UK has fallen by around 30%. And in terms of household bills, I can't hear you saying that it would make any difference at all.
So it wouldn't necessarily bring energy bills down. That's not what we're saying. But it would, as I say, raise a significant amount of money that would help us, for example, fund public services, also fund transition into different forms of energy, for example, things like offshore wind and solar energy, which more broadly and indirectly could help bring bills down.
Their own minister, their own admission. So when James cleverly tells you that the solution to a global oil price shock caused by a war in the Middle East is to open up the North Sea licenses, he's telling you something his own party has already concluded isn't true. Now I want to step back for a moment because taken individually you might think, okay, a politician spun their party's position on a war and a politician made an optimistic claim about an energy policy. I mean, that happens, that's politics, right? But look at what Cleverly did in a single interview. He asked you to disbelieve your own memory of what his leader said just over 2 weeks ago, and then he asked you to believe a policy that his own party has privately conceded doesn't work to fix your petrol bill. Both things require you to either not know the facts or not go and check them. Both things were said confidently, fluently, without hesitation, and both things went unchallenged. James Cleverly is not an incompetent politician. This is a deliberately calculated that the format won't catch him, that the interviewer, whoever it may be, won't have the North Sea mechanics at their fingertips, and by the time anyone checks the clips, the news cycle would have moved on. And he's usually right. That's calculation usually works. The Conservative Party is currently asking you to consider them as an alternative government. That is the reasonable thing for an opposition to do. But if you're going to make that case, at least you can do is offer an honest account of what you said last week and an honest account of what your policies would actually do. And that is what the Conservative alternative looks like right now. Not at the dispatch box where the cameras are pointing at Kemi, but on TV interviews where one of the most experienced operators thinks nobody's paying close enough attention. But we are.